I haven't talked much about political issues, but since my reason of doing the YouTube is to talk about how we can have wisdom and compassion to live a happy life, political situation is of course a factor and becoming a major factor, especially in the US situation preparing for this voting in November for the president. So I want to relate to the way I see democracy and compared to autocracy or dictatorship, and how that view may be related to what I have been talking about, the idea of the mini company, mini me, brain and heart, and Zen, and all of that. So it may not be easy because I haven't configured a way quite to be able to put the thoughts together, but I have some idea and I just want to try to share with you. Let's start with the Zen, or my word is how to use the brain and at the same time listen to your heart and live with the mission. That's my last book, Results from the Heart. But it's the relationship of those two dimensions of what's in the brain or the mind and what's in our body and heart. What's in our body and heart is something that all the plants and animals may have, very similar, if not identical, if you look into DNA. But we humans developed this brain much bigger than animals and has the notion of dualism, words and logic, so that we developed and advanced evolution of human took place in such a manner that we can now talk, think, and come up with a system like a political system or invention like artificial intelligence. So there's a huge interesting potential of having this brain or the human mind. But purely spiritual issues that if I were to focus, those two dimensions of the mind or the brain and heart has to have a connection. And my point is that if we don't have the connection to heart, it's just a logic. And the logic based upon ego is not quite correct in the sense that we may fight against each other and cause troubles, war, and difficulties. So when I say listen to the heart, not just listening to the heart on occasion, but as much as possible so that we have this connection of like a tree. The source of who we are is in our heart. That's how we came to be alive on this earth and have this creative juice sort of flowing so that we advanced, and that is the engine of where we are. I often talk about tree analogy of who we are. That's the root and energy coming out. When it's coming out, body feels lively. If there's a tree, all the branches and leaves feel lively. But if we are detached from the heart or the source of energy, but just confined in the mind and ego, for example, we just confuse ourselves because so much information, what to do, where to do, what to do, where to go, and where is the balance. So we need to have some orchestrating process of our brain, and for that we have lots of studies, lots of schools, and different ideas, but each person has to live. Not just the studies being done and books, and the library has lots of books to talk about, but in our daily life, how we practice those great ideas. So how to use the brain, not at random, not self-centered, maybe self-centered in certain way, because that's, you need to have some sense of preserving your individual talent. That makes sense. But if it's going overboard to fight with each other, then we may be missing the point for us to be happy as a whole group as much as for each individual. So we want to have some sort of a alignment of the individual happiness to the whole humanity as much as possible, because we are living on this earth with the same kind of structure of mind and brain and the heart that we may have. So the spiritual orientation is to make sure that we have this connection to heart. That's the source of our being and the creativity or wisdom and compassion, so that I use the word of samadhi instead of always using the brain, but like you go sleep and rest, mind can stop thinking, no mind, and not using the egocentric way, so no self. So no mind, no self, no thinking, samadhi. And when we have that, maybe sleeping and dreaming, the internal process of body, what's in there, not just we are playing with the superficial part of the brain, but all of our existence, all the cells can find a way to harmonize, so to speak. So I use the word waku, liveliness. When we are in tune to the way that we are built with the heart at the center, we feel the sense of liveliness, waku, liveliness. The waku, Japanese water coming out of the ground and flowing, fountain. The energy is flowing, the tree is growing. And then we align our thinking to that energy flow. I use the word bonsai. Sometimes the branches are too much, so you cut it off, or you've broken the branches. So living being is to find the way to utilize all of our resources, to utilize it, suck up the energy, prevail, and then grow as individual. But for the whole humanity, we have the same model applied. So that's the way I see it. So the Sila Samadhi Panya, find the right conduct to do and do it. And we have problem, then we have Samadhi. You don't know what to do, so have a calm and quiet mind. Meditate. Stop thinking. Then you start to notice how the energy is flowing within, and the cells, how they may be not functioning or functioning. You start to realize, now I'm alive. I feel the energy, feel stronger, and then direct the energy in the direction that makes sense with the idea like compassion and wisdom. So that there's alignment of the energy flow to how we use the mind and the brain. So that's the idea related to each individual. But within each individual, we have many, I call it, different group of cells, ideas working. But we have to have a way to put those together. So it's like the case for the company. Instead of mini company, different group of people working together as customers and suppliers to make product or provide service to the customers, and work with suppliers and work with bankers connected. So it's an organic process of information flow and customer-supplier relationship, bringing everybody together, not losing unnecessary, so the blockage to be identified and find a way to address it with the wisdom or some kind of plan to improve, and go through the process of plan, do, check, act, and improving, or also connecting to the heart Shila Samadipanya, that's a process of evolution. So that's a generic picture I was talking about. But if we talk about this political situation, I see democracy is similar to those organizations where each cell of the body or each mini company is to work together, come up with ideas, and develop the companies and systems. And as a whole, we are to achieve for the whole humanity to progress. May all beings be happy, not just the human, but along with other species. So that's the direction, and therefore the democracy idea is to utilize the cells of each individual, but put together as a whole nation. In this case, the United States have so many people living, and each of the person is like a cell in our body. They relate to each other, they have different ideas, but they are to put the ideas together, sort it out, and align for the purpose of may all beings be happy, may all Americans or the world to progress better with the system called democracy. So if I compare the democratic process of kind of a waku, each individual excited, it's not that easy to have everyone, but that's the orientation that I was talking in case of individual in the spirituality, but the same notion can be applied in the organization with the idea of the mini company, but then also for the whole nation, United States or the world, going through possibly a democratic process so that each person's voice may be counted, like each cell in a body is alive. Each individual voice is counted and synthesized to come up with the leadership, constitution, Congress, whatever the system that can be developed and get better. So if you look at the world and different countries, so there may be different systems for each country, different constitution, but in a way they are like a mini company. There's a mini country or nations with different ideas, but all those can be working together as customers and suppliers by trade, people moving around, or sometimes fighting. But that's the nature that happens in the organization at the nations level, organization or the companies, countries level, company and organizations level, state, individuals level, all the way to the cell level of individual. So the notion that I shared with the Holon idea and the Kegon is to describe the system of the whole, like called the Holon system. Each entity is a whole on its own, but it's a part of the bigger entity. So from the cells of the body, to the human individual, to the organization, mini company, and then to the state and the nation, and collectively as a whole human organization on earth is based upon the same whole structure that is connected, and that is what I mentioned about the book, on the book called The Results from the Heart. And the Kegon idea, interpenetration, movement of one element would be connected to the other, and vice versa, as customers and suppliers. So silo division may exist, but there's a relationship. So if you ignore that relationship, then we have a silo problem. Different ideologies, ideas fighting, and they cannot talk. There has to be a way, as much as each individual has cells and kidney and lung, helping each other. If they start to fight each other, or the lung from the right and left, they fight each other. I need more oxygen. It's losing the whole holistic view. So narrow-mindedness, egocentric, all that kind of stuff doesn't work. And if the brain is involved in orchestrating our body of connection, the brain cannot handle it. So you let the body to handle on its own, and body is to delegate, and body focus on whatever the brain is good at. So if you use that same notion for United States in this case of the election, and if there's a dictatorship instead of the democratic system, it's like a top-down without listening to people. So top has, let's say, Trump or whoever the top person is, if he's like a dictator, he may not capture all the elements unless he is a genius. But even if that's the case, the voice of the people, their understanding has to be reflected, and typically dictatorship may not have this democratic process of figuring out the voting and who to do when and how, and agreeing upon the constitution and the Congress, the legal system, executive branch, how they operate, all that kind of stuff. May be ignored or taken lightly, so that the people depend on dictator to do something. For some people, it's convenient because they don't have to think, but the involvement is missing. And if it's applied in the human case, if certain cells are not interested in contributing, but only to respond to the brain, instead of your lung and heart is trying to pump the blood or whatever, oxygen, they reject that, then something is misaligned. So that's the difference of dictatorship, top-down approach, not connecting or collecting the wisdom of the people, the compassionate sense that exists because they are alive. They are not like a machine. They have aliveness, and the system may be made such that this aliveness is monitored, as much as I mentioned about the individual's case, to monitor the aliveness, waku sensation. When you awaken, you have that. When you are with wisdom and compassion, there's something more than what's in the brain. There's the waku sensation, liveliness, that there's a meaning in what you do. And that's what I see can happen when we can execute the idea of democracy, kind of relating to what I mentioned about the mini company, the mini-me, waku, wisdom, compassion, shira, samadhi, panya, and plan, do, check, act, to be a part of the whole system, whole idea, Kegon idea. Then we can be better, have the organization with more power and the involvement of people. I have this presentation I used over the last 40 years. One is the top-down, small group of people, high level of intelligence, and telling all the rest of the people what to do. That's kind of like a top-down dictatorship. And the other organization has lots of people having a skill to self-manage, contribute their ideas, help each other. Instead of waiting for the top, they figure out like a lung and heart and kidney on their own without the brain too much involved in the process. Nature's way, heart, where we came from, the root energy source, how it's spreading, each cell's activated, come up with the idea, compassion, wisdom, even an awakening for the whole organization to move forward. So I hope this process can be somehow understood and worked out, so that humanity as a whole have a way of moving forward, result from the heart, but using the brain, and having a mission for each individual to all the way to the nation and the world, and to the other direction, each cells to have the mission and orchestrate the process, customer-supplier relationship, and the whole Waku can be expanded, and alignment of all can be had for the future's progression that we may be able to accomplish, and having fun in the process. Thank you.